Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi Sheikh Khalid bin Zayed Al Nahyan will meet India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his first official visit to India. Both leaders to hold discussions on a wide range of areas of bilateral cooperation. Tomorrow he will visit Mumbai to participate in a business forum in which business leaders from both countries will participate. Amid the brewing tensions in West Asia, Israel conducted strikes in central Syria, killing at least 7 people and injuring 15 others. The latest strikes targeted the Masaf area, which is thought to be used as a base for Iranian forces and pro-Iranian militias. Since the beginning of the civil war in Syria in 2011, Israel has carried out hundreds of strikes targeting pro-Iranian groups. Upping the ante against the Israeli government, thousands of protesters blocked traffic near the Israeli Defense Ministry in Tel Aviv, demanding the Israeli government do more to secure a hostage release deal. The latest wave of protests in the past 1 week was triggered after 6 hostages were shot dead by Hamas. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has said that Israel was preparing for a possible escalation in fighting with Hezbollah in Lebanon. The videos released by the Israeli Defense Ministry show Gallant traveling in a helicopter before meeting troops which were said to be in Gaza's Netzarim corridor, which cuts across the Gaza Strip south of Gaza City. He told the troops that Israel is preparing for anything that can happen in the north. A Jordanian gunman killed 3 Israelis at the Israeli-controlled border crossing that connects Jordan with the West Bank. According to the IDF, gunmen approached the Albi Bridge from Jordan in a truck, exited the vehicle and opened fire on security forces operating the bridge. Security forces then fatally shot the gunman, identified by Jordan's Interior Ministry as Maher Tayeb Hussein al-Jazi. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned the attack and called the shooter a despicable terrorist inspired by a murderous ideology fueled by Iran. Meanwhile, hundreds of Jordanians marched in downtown Amman to salute the slain Jordanian who killed 3 Israeli civilians in the West Bank before security forces shot him dead at the bridge border crossing on Sunday. Demonstrators hailed the assailant as a hero, claiming that he avenged the death of thousands of Palestinians killed in the war in Gaza. Thousands protested in Turkey after death of 8-year-old girl. Thousands protest in the Turkish city of Diyarbakir after the body of an 8-year-old girl who had been missing for 19 days was found after a massive manhunt. The body of the girl was found in a bag in the river around 1 kilometer from the village where she lived with her family. Thousands of Mexicans, mainly court employees and law students, protested in Mexico City against a controversial judicial reform that would see judges of the Supreme Court elected by popular vote. The Senate appeared to debate the initiative pushed by ongoing President Obrador, which was approved by the lower house, in which the ruling party holds sway. Meanwhile, in rare public remarks, Mexico's Supreme Court Chief Justice has denounced attempts to demolish judicial branch. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is in China for talks with top officials, including President Xi Jinping, to boost economic ties, despite a trade standoff between Beijing and the European Union. Speaking at a forum in Beijing, Pedro Sanchez said that both countries maintain a constructive willingness to engage in dialogue and cooperation. The Spanish Premier met with Xi during his last visit to China in March 2023. His trip will take him to Shanghai on Wednesday and Tuesday and Wednesday, where he will interact with businessmen and inaugurate a cultural event as well. North Korean residents offered flowers and paid tribute to statues of their late leaders to mark the state's 76th founding anniversary. North Korean people were seen laying flowers in front of statues of North Korean founder Kim Il-sung and late leader Kim Jong-il on Mansu Hill in Pyongyang. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea was founded in 1948 by Kim Il-sung, grandfather of the current leader Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un became leader when his father Kim Jong-il died in 2011 after a heart attack. Pope Francis arrived Monday in East Timor for the third stop of an Asia-Pacific tour, the longest of the 87-year-old papacy, and the pontiff landed in the capital at 2:20 p.m. local time to begin the three-day visit, during which he will address leaders and rally the Catholic faithful with a huge mass. At least 48 people were killed in an explosion after a fuel tanker collided with another truck carrying travelers and cattle in the north-central Niger state. According to the authorities, several other vehicles were also caught up in the accident. Cubans celebrated their patron saint, the Virgin of Charity El Cobre, with a procession on her feast day. Dressed in bright yellow, devotees sought miracles and blessings from a symbol of Cuban nationalism that transcends religion. Catholics revere her, while members of the Afro-Cuban fusion religion of Santeria honor her as the deity of rivers, sensuality and love. Found floating in a bay in 1612 by fishermen, the icon was revered by Cuba's independence heroes and sits in the foothills of Sierra Maestra Mountains. A day after Western intelligence officials alleged that Russia was using Iranian missiles to attack Ukraine, a member of Iran's parliament has hinted that Iran might be supplying Russia with ballistic missiles. He also said that Iran has been circumventing sanctions through its partnership with Russia by importing soybeans, corn and other goods from Russia. Balkan countries are reporting that the summer of 2024 was the hottest since measurements started more than 130 years ago. This year's summer has broken previous records with repeated heat waves and almost a totally dry July and August. Long periods with temperatures above 30 degrees Celsius that didn't fall below 20 degrees Celsius overnight have pushed average temperatures to new highs. Typhoon Yagi and the landslides and floods it triggered have killed at least 24 people, injured more than 299. Another 299 in northern Vietnam on the weekend. Authorities have warned of more flooding. The typhoon was Asia's most powerful storm this year and made landfall on the country's northeastern coast on Saturday. It has disrupted power supplies and telecommunications in several parts of the country. Japan's economy grew at a slightly slower pace than initially reported in the second quarter, hurt by downward revisions in corporate and household spending that point to a bumpier second half for consumption and the central bank's rate hike plans. The Bank of Japan is keen to see consistent improvement in domestic demand as it focuses on exiting its decades-long monetary stimulus program and raising interest rates. Boeing said it had reached a tentative agreement with the union representing more than 32,000 workers in the U.S. Pacific Northwest in a deal that could help avert a possible crippling strike as early as the 13th of September. If approved, the proposed four-year contract, which includes a general wage increase of 25% and commitment to build the next commercial airplane in the Seattle area, is an important win for new Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg, who took over last month with a mandate to turn around quality at the plane maker. The first full labor deal in 16 years would also include better retirement benefits and giving the union greater input in the safety and quality of production system. The dollar held to tight range in early trade, while the yen pared its safe haven gains as investors were undecided on the scale of a Federal Reserve rate cut expected later this month and looked to this week's U.S. inflation reading for more cues. In China, data showed consumer prices accelerated in August to the fastest pace in half a year, but producer price deflation worsened with a still sputtering economy weighing on the yuan in the Asian session. Currencies elsewhere struggled for direction after Friday's highly anticipated U.S. jobs data failed to offer clarity to traders on the question of whether the Fed would deliver a regular 25 basis point rate cut or an outsized 50 basis points one at its policy meeting next week. Oil futures jumped by $1 in early trading as a potential hurricane system approached the U.S. Gulf Coast and as markets recovered from a sell-off following weaker than expected U.S. jobs data on Friday. Refining margins in Asia have slipped to their lowest seasonal levels since 2020 on weak demand from the two largest economies. Fuel oil exports to the U.S. Gulf Coast fell to the lowest level since January 2019, last month on weaker refining margins. South Korea's transport ministry is set to introduce new regulations to improve electric vehicle safety, and this move comes after rising public concerns over EV fires. The government had planned to implement an EV battery certification system next February, but it will now begin a trial version in October. EV manufacturers will also need to reveal key details about their batteries, including brand and components. This decision follows a fire in a parked Mercedes-Benz electric vehicle last month, which destroyed a parking lot and damaged over 100 cars. The ministry has emphasized the need for transparency on EV safety and has pledged to continue improving regulations to enhance safety standards. A recent media report has revealed that the messaging app Telegram is flooded with illegal and extremist content. The analysis, based on 3.2 million Telegram messages from 16,000 channels, uncovered that 1,500 channels were run by white supremacists and 24 of the channels were involved in weapons sales. Additionally, 22 channels were found to be promoting drugs like MDMA, cocaine and heroin. Groups like Hamas and ISIS are also reportedly thriving on the platform, gathering large audiences across numerous channels. Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX, has announced that the company plans to send its first uncrewed starships to Mars in 2 years. These initial missions will be unmanned to test the reliability of landing on Mars. Musk stated that if these landings are successful, crewed missions could start in 4 years. The billionaire envisions a rapid increase in flight frequency and aims to establish a self-sustaining city on Mars within about 20 years. The Paralympic Games came to a close with a glittering ceremony that rounded off a spectacular summer of sports in Paris. Despite the rain, the iconic Stade de France was full with 4,400 athletes representing 168 countries around the world. Paris Mayor handed the Paralympic flag to International Paralympic Committee, who then passed it to LA Mayor Karen Bass. The Olympic cauldron, which was supposed to be lifted up in the sky in a hot air balloon one last time, was grounded due to the rain before the flame was put out. France's top 20 DJs played in the final part of the event, creating a memorable atmosphere.